Hi everyone, my name is Holly Lemyre. I know that this probably comes as a shock to some of you because the internet has seemed to operate under the idea that I never grew out of 14 years old. But in fact I did. I grew 5 years worth. And I'm making this video because it's time for the real Holly Lemyre to please stand up. I am just kidding, of course, but in all seriousness, I'm here today to identify myself. If any of you know who I am, but didn't come across me on Facebook or Tumblr to figure that out, then you've probably seen me naked. I'm going to try and do this as briefly as possible because I know that I don't want to waste anybody's time. But recently there's been some incidents that I feel somewhat responsible for, and this is one of the only things that I can hope to do to stop it. 5 years ago now, I was involved in like a little internet relationship, like most 14 to 17-year-old girls have been at some point. Like any human being, I was exploring my sexuality and did proceed to, I guess you could say, take my clothes off sexually in front of somebody over webcam on Skype. I didn't just do this once. This relationship mingled on for a good 3 months, and by the end of it, there were 36 episodes of this, and to my surprise, the person on the other side of the camera was not only not who he said he was, or she was, but they then proceeded to make me the center of a giant child pornography scandal. Going into the details of how everything played out would take way too much of everyone's time, including mine. But to put it briefly, I was too scared to tell my parents because I thought it was my fault. So as I hid in my own fear, the videos circulated, like everything else on the internet does, and before I had done anything, it was too late. Everybody that I've ever known knows about this. And that might not mean a lot to anyone because very few people have been in a situation close to mine, but when I say everybody, I mean my friends, my parents' friends, my friends' parents, teachers, administrators, officials, police officers, everyone that I had seemed to come into contact with for more than 10 minutes or had any sort of a lasting connection with, or really didn't even ever know, but knew people that I knew found out. And for a 15-year-old girl, I guess I was, when everything really surfaced, that was terrifying. That was horrifying. I was ashamed and scared and just all in all lost. And mind you, leading up until all of this happened, my life was not going so well. I had been a victim of bullying. I had isolated myself. I was not hanging out with the best people. I had a history of depression and I was taking mood stabilizers. I didn't go to school for 8th grade. I did home and hospital, which basically is where teachers come to you. Like, I was a mess. And this situation seemed impossible for me to handle, much less somebody who was on stable emotional ground. But I did it. I got the help and the support that I needed, both emotionally and literally, and I got through everything with a very strategic team of professionals and my parents. No, my life was never the same again, and I don't think it ever will be. I didn't go to public high school after freshman year, mostly because I didn't want to. And then when this all happened, that didn't help. I couldn't meet anybody without them already having a predisposition for who I was or what I'd done. I found myself at the mercy of a lot of social judgments that I didn't even agree with. And this continued on for 4 years. 4 long and sometimes very painful years. But every day that I woke up in the morning and I was still okay, I found out that I was a little bit stronger. And all I had to do was wake up the next morning okay, and then I was even a little bit stronger then. And I kept doing that. I realized that as long as I knew that I was a decent person, it really didn't matter what other people thought. And no, I am not a believer in giving no fucks or not caring who thinks what about you, because in the end, people are all we have on this planet. But I did know that I wasn't going to hold myself to the values of someone else, and especially of someone else who didn't understand the whole story. Even after watching this video, I'm sorry, but you have absolutely no idea what's happened. There's only like 4 or 5 people on this planet who really do. But that's okay, and I've kept it that way. Because as public as my entire life has become, it's still mine. Over time, not only did I move on from this whole incident, but I kind of moved on from that whole life. Almost a year ago now, I did move to Nevada County, which is about 2.5 hours away from when I used to live, by myself, and so that I could get an education. I graduated high school about a year early and worked full-time for that year to save all the money I could to fund this move and to regain who I was as a person. Because no matter how well you handle a situation or how much support you can get, just the stress and the emotional pull that these things take changes you, and you get a shell. You get a really thick shell, a shell that eventually doesn't permeate anything, even the good stuff. And this year I was able to shed that. But enough of all this. The reason why I'm making this video is more preventative than explanatory. When I moved, I also removed most of my presence from the internet. Not because of anything that's happened, but honestly just because I don't think that the internet is a good way to spend the time that you have alive. I kept my Instagram and I kept my Tumblr, but besides a Vine account that I don't use, I wiped everything. At the same time, I took my ask box off my Tumblr because I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just queued posts to keep it. And obviously, Instagram does not have like a private messaging center yet, so I didn't really talk to anybody, especially anonymously, on Instagram about anything that had happened either. But some time ago, I got on Tumblr, switched my ask box to on, and I started receiving like a flood of messages of fake accounts that had been created all over the internet. These accounts don't use this Holly, they use 14-year-old Holly. And the reason being that if they used this Holly, everything that they were trying to do would be ruined. That might not make much sense unless you're somebody who's doing this, but I can explain to you why. Because by downloading the child pornography videos that were recorded from me without my knowledge off of the internet, using my images as their own profile images, finding people on Facebook that they can lead onto Skype, and then playing those pre-downloaded, pre-recorded 5-year-old child pornographic videos to the person that they have tricked onto Skype, they can then get them naked and exploit them as well. This is where my heart breaks. Because as a stupid and naive 14-year-old girl, I did nothing but make a bad decision. You cannot shame me for my sexuality. If you try, it is not going to work. I am okay with the fact that I'm a sexual being. Everybody is, whether they want to admit it or not. But when my image is being used to fuck other people over the way that I was fucked over, is when I really feel like I have to do something. I do not have the time or the energy to get my videos off the internet, nor is it any of my concern. But my concern is people who are using the videos to further the problem. And that's what I would like to address today. As of right now, enough accounts have been brought to my attention to resume legal action. And as you might imagine, this is not something that I'm taking lightly. Something tells me that the majority of the people that are watching this video are not perpetrators of this issue. So just as a quick sidebar, if you are one of them, I'm coming for you. And I'm not fucking around. But back onto the lighter issues, the main reason why I'm here today is to reclaim my name as Holly Lemyre. Just to lend myself some sort of anonymity, I have kept my name as Holly Brooke in every single social network site that I've used in the last 5 years. Honestly, I will continue to do so. But today, at 19 years old, on May 26, 2013, I'm looking at all of you and telling you that I'm proud to be who I am as a human being. I am positive that I'm going to get some sort of a rash of shit for this, because it seems like every time I open my mouth about this situation, I can't avoid it. But that's okay, just know that everything you're going to say I've heard at least once before. But if you're someone who has been a victim of one of these fake accounts, or has seen one, or had a friend who's been a victim of one of them, please let me know. I'm going to link my Tumblr below this. You can also leave a comment if you would like. But I'm doing everything in my power before involving attorneys and task force agents to do something about this right now, because legal action takes a little bit of time. So that everyone is aware, Facebook is not responding to me, and being the faceless entity that it is, I obviously can't reach anybody by phone. Nevertheless, it is not useless to send me links to Facebooks that are people portraying themselves as me at 14. I do have them all listed, or all accounts that I've come across so far, on my Tumblr page under fakes. This includes Facebook, Twitter, Skype, anything that I've come across so far. And again, I'll list anything there. The other thing that I wanted to get across in this video was just like a small announcement. Obviously, with my extraordinary path over my teenage years, I have kind of taken on my own little cause. I'm the president of the Choices Club at Sierra College, and for the rest of my life, all I want to do is be a sexuality advocate. What does this mean? No, it doesn't mean that I want to go around pushing people together and hoping that they consummate a relationship, but it means that I'm one that is advocating for safe sex, talking about sex, acceptance of sex, because we are all sexual beings. This is how I got into this mess in the first place, because our society is too afraid to tell us that we have sex organs, that we like to have sex, and that we, as human beings, should. But with proper education and resources, the whole course of every story can change. When a girl has access to contraception, she doesn't have to become a mom at 18 years old. When a boy understands that no matter what our culture might illustrate, rape is really not okay, we don't raise rapists. When there is no borderline between what is rape or what is consensual, when we talk about our relationships with our partners because that's the right thing to do. Sex is everywhere around us, in our media, in our culture, in our conversation, in the products that we use. Sex is designed into everything because it attracts us naturally. Yet at the same time, we refuse to talk about it in typical conversation as though it's taboo or wrong. And that's what I want to change. I don't know how yet. Honestly, I'm good at writing, I'm good at public speaking, and I guess that's a jumping off point, right? But other than involving myself in choices for the last year and continuing on next semester, today I'm making a little announcement that I will be opening a sexual health blog. More information is going to come at the end of the week. It's still in progress, but this is going to be a community tool for everybody to get accurate, safe, and appropriate information about the most beautiful thing in life, sex. It's also going to be a place for people to get connected with resources and support for people who are in situations that they might not feel comfortable dealing with alone. I am proud of who I am. I am proud of everything that I've been through, and I am proud that everything that has happened has only led me to this. A day where I can sit in front of the internet and tell everybody that I am Holly Lemyre, the porn star, the person who has attracted way too much negative attention off the internet. And instead of climbing into a hole, I'm going to use everything in my power to make a difference and to save other young ladies and gentlemen from the fate that I suffered. But even saying that doesn't sound right, because it may have hurt and it may have been hard, but I would call my life anything but suffering. So to sum everything up, if you've stumbled across any of these fake accounts or know anyone who's been a victim of them, please let me know either privately on Tumblr or in a comment below. Please stay tuned for more information about my sex info blog. And to all of you who may be involved in flaming the fire underneath the spread of this content, this is child pornography. Thank you all for your time and for your patience. My name is Holly Lemyre, and I'm gonna make a difference.